I looked at myself in the full-length mirror and thought, not bad for a 36-year-old woman with 3 children. Hal won't be ashamed to hold my hand. I had the perfect little black dress with the perfect sexy stiletto sandals. This outfit is guaranteed to excite Hal and make the bedroom noisy tonight. Although I don't need an outfit for this. He's been away for 2 weeks, and if he's half as excited as I am, we might not even have time to leave the house for the company dinner. I was doing my hair when the call rang. Terry, my 16-year-old daughter, shouted from the first floor, "Mom, this is Dad." I picked up the phone at the head of the bed. "Hi, darling. How's my little sex bomb? I feel sexy and horny, and I expect you to do something about it." I was hoping to get home early enough that we'd both be beaming when we got to dinner, but that's not going to happen. My flight was delayed. Crap, not canceled, baby, just delayed a little. What I need from you is to go to dinner alone, and I will join you there. The hotel is only 20 minutes from the airport, but it takes an hour to get home and another half hour from home to the hotel. Dinner will be over before we get there. I'll call Daryl to keep an eye on you until I get there. I have to make it before cocktail hour ends and dinner starts. I suppose I can do that, but there will be one price. Which? A building with rooms for rent, a 2-week absence, I'm horny as a goat, and you still ask what? Okay, rent a room. Can you find a nanny in such a short time? No need. Terry is old enough to look after Jimmy and Norm, and will only be half an hour away from here. Okay, baby, I'll see you there. Love you. And I love you, darling. See you soon. When I got to the hotel, I stopped at the front desk and checked into a room for the night. With a smile, I told the administrator that I didn't expect to be able to drive after the party, and he smiled back. We have a lot of them. As I entered the meeting room where the dinner was taking place, I heard someone's voice. Oh God, look at this. I didn't show that I heard it, but I blossomed inside, thinking, you're still in it, girl. I noticed Hal's boss, Daryl, the moment he saw me, and he stood up and walked over to me. Hello, beauty. Looks like I'm going to have to be your fake beau until Hal arrives. It's a shame, it's just a sham. You look gorgeous today. Thank you, sir. He led me to the table where he was sitting and pulled out a chair for me. Until Hal arrives, you will sit at the bachelor's table. I looked around and noticed that there were no other women at the table. I was a little nervous, knowing that I would be the center of attention until Hala arrived. Besides Daryl, there were 5 other men at the table. 3 of them, besides Daryl, I knew from other corporate events, and 2 of those 3 were the reason I was nervous. Sam and Phil were a bit rough when they were sober. After a few drinks, they became even worse. Ben wasn't a bad guy, but everyone said he loved men who just didn't come out. Daryl introduced me to 2 people I didn't know. Al was the director of marketing at Excel, and Bill was the vice president of sales at Apollo. Daryl brought me a drink, and I sat chatting with the men and sipping my drink. I was not blind, and I was not naive. I saw the interest in Al and Bill's eyes and already knew about Phil and Sam. Both have been rude to me several times in the past. I never told Hal about this because he would have lashed out at them and it could have hurt his career. Daryl bought me another drink, and while Ben, Sam, and Phil discussed business, Al, Bill, and Daryl tried to keep me from getting bored. By the time it was time for dinner, I was already on my 4th drink. I looked at my watch and wondered where Hal was. He said he would be there before the end of cocktail hour. I had another drink with dinner and another during all the performances that followed dinner. Finally, my cell phone rang, and when I answered, Hal said, "You probably already noticed that I'm not there. You haven't lost much. The same rubbery chicken cutlets and steaks as tough as a sole. The speeches sounded the same as last year. They probably just dusted off last year's ones and used them again. I won't be able to come today." The delay turned into a malfunction, which turned into a flight cancellation. The earliest flight will be tomorrow at noon. I'm sorry you shouldn't have gone there. At least I got out of the house, but I'm not happy about being alone in a hotel room. You don't have to stay. You can go home. No, thank you. I had a few drinks while waiting for you and not planning on driving, and with the current Dewey enforcement, I won't take any chances. Try to get a good rest, because I won't let you sleep when I get home. Promises, promises. See you tomorrow, baby. Love you. And I love you, honey. Dream about me. Will, bye. When I put the phone away, Daryl asked, "What?" The flight was canceled. He won't come home until tomorrow. Well, I knew my fake date had to end at some point. Are you going home already? No. I rented a room here for the night. I drank too much to risk driving. This may be good news for me. Why should this be good news for you? This could mean that my fake date with you is not over yet. There's a pretty good band playing in the lounge. Shall we go have a drink and listen to them? Why not? Since I'm not driving, a couple extra drinks won't hurt. We got up and walked into the lounge, and I was surprised when Al and Bill followed us. We sat down in one of the large booths, and a few minutes later Sam and Phil joined us. We ordered drinks and listened to the band, and Daryl was right, they were pretty good. It didn't take long before my foot started tapping and my fingers started drumming on the table to the beat of the music. Daryl noticed and asked me to dance, and I was in the right mood to say yes. Daryl held me close, and as we moved around the dance floor, he said, "I'll have to thank Hal for that." For what? For asking me to look after you. It's not often that I get the opportunity to hold such a gorgeous woman like you in my arms. Keep flattering, and I might keep dancing with you. The song ended, and we walked back to the cabin with me between Bill and Daryl. By then, there was a fresh drink, and after a few sips, Bill asked me to dance. Then Al wanted to dance, followed by Daryl again, and of course Sam and Phil wanted to dance too. And between dances, there were drinks. He always appeared fresh when I returned from the dance floor. I admit I drank too much, but I had a great time. I had 5 men try their best to make me happy, and it didn't matter because I didn't have to drive and my room was only 2 floors up and a couple of minutes away. I wasn't the least bit naive. I knew what they wanted. They wanted my hot, toned body. They weren't going to get it, but only I knew about it. I let them buy me drinks, dance with me, and yes, snuggle up to my leg. Sam and Phil were as rude as ever. During one slow dance, Sam pressed himself against me and asked, "When will you give up and let me try?" The answer was never, but I decided to have fun and tease him. Not until you or Hal change jobs. I can't date you while you're working with Hal. So there's a chance. There's always a chance, honey. Phil was even ruder. He held me close to him, and I felt his bulge as he said, "I want to get you into bed and Hal isn't here, so how about tonight?" I decided to be as rude to Phil as he was. I only have sex with men with a very large manhood. Bullshit. I saw Hal in the locker room when we were playing racquetball, and he's 10 inches short. I know. That's why I only have sex with guys who have more. Why would I waste my time on guys the same size as my husband? So you're cheating. I didn't cheat, but he didn't know that. And I have sex and give pleasure, honey. The music stopped, and we returned to the cabin. I was a little wobbly from all the drinks I had drunk. The group announced that they needed to take a break and said that they would be back in 15 minutes. The seating arrangement in the booth was constantly changing when the guys got up to go to the toilet, and when I returned from the dance floor, I was never in the same place where I was before. This time when Phil and I returned, Al, Bill, and Daryl were sitting on one side, and Sam was just coming back from the toilet. Phil slid in, and I sat next to him while Sam sat to my right. I took a sip of the fresh drink in front of me. The drink was in my right hand, and Phil leaned over and whispered in my ear, taking my left hand, "Here's your 10-inch honey." He placed my hand in place, opening my fingers and guiding them to wrap around him. I looked down and noticed that it was indeed an impressive size. I sat with a drink in my right hand and a stuck left hand, wondering how I could get out of this situation without causing a scene. As if to add to my worries, Sam placed his hand on my thigh and slowly began to lift it upward. While Sam's hand continued its path, Phil still held my hand on him, as if waiting for some action. I took another long sip and set the empty glass down on the table just as the waitress brought out another round of drinks. And then I realized two things. First, Phil was no longer guiding my hand, it was already moving on its own. Secondly, Sam's hand moved further and my legs, which I had previously kept closed, were now slightly spread. Surprisingly, I did nothing to stop what was happening. My mind was looking for a way out of this situation, but my body clearly decided that it liked the attention it was receiving. At some point, the internal tension began to subside, and I realized that I needed to pull myself together and figure out how to get out of this difficult situation. Okay, body, if you want it, go ahead. I was almost on the verge of straddling Phil's lap and letting this man have sex with me while the other four men in the booth watched. And then thank God the band started playing and Daryl asked me to dance. Of course, I said that I would be happy to let go of Phil and began to get out of the cabin so that Sam would also stop his actions. Walking onto the dance floor, Daryl asked, "Are you okay? You look a little flushed." "I probably drank too much. Do you want to finish for today?" I promised Hal that I would look after you. Afraid of what might happen if I got into the booth again, I said I'd better call it a day. When the song ended, we returned to the cabin and I grabbed my purse and said goodbye to everyone and thanked them for a nice evening. I almost laughed when I saw the look on Sam and Phil's faces when I said that. They were so sure that they had already won. "I'll walk you to your room," Daryl said. "No need." "Oh yes, there is. You're not very stable on your feet right now. You are my fake companion for this evening, and I always accompany my companions to the door when I bring them home." When we got to my room, he extended his hand and I gave him the key card. He swiped his card across the lock, opened the door, and I turned to thank him for the evening. At that moment, he hugged me and kissed me. He parted his lips slightly, and I did not resist. He broke the kiss and said, "When I walk my companions to the door, even fake ones, I always kiss them goodbye." Our eyes met for a moment, and then he kissed me again, this time with much more passion. Why, I don't know, but I answered him. I honestly don't remember what happened between the time my tongue touched him and the moment I was underneath him and we had sex, but there was no doubt that I was all in it. I thanked God for taking birth control. He didn't want to stop, and I didn't want to either. At that moment, I was not thinking about Hala or my children. All I could think about was more, more, more. Daryl began to pleasure me. I lifted my head and looked over my shoulder to see Bill's smiling face having sex with me. "How the hell did you get here?" I started talking, and suddenly I couldn't talk anymore. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Daryl stand up and say, "I dropped your key card on the floor outside the door so he could use it." "And aren't you glad I did that?" asked Al. "Holy God, I've dreamed about this forever." It was Sam's voice. Bill and Al were having sex with me when I finally passed out from exhaustion. I woke up and found that there were two men in bed with me, Bill on the right and Daryl on the left. Looking at the clock at the head of the bed, I saw that it was 8:45. I stared at the ceiling and wondered how I could look Hal in the eyes after what I had just done. Crap, he'll be expecting sex when he gets home, and he'll immediately feel how loose I am and wonder why. What should I do now? The answer to this question, at least in the short term, was given to me by Daryl. He felt me moving and said, "Oh good, you woke up." He rolled over on me and started moving before I knew it, and I was thinking, this is wrong, this is so wrong. You have to stop right now. But Bill woke up too and said, "Roll over." They were working hard on me when the room phone rang, and I told them to stop. It's probably Hal, and I need to answer. I picked up the phone. "Hello? Hello, baby. Did I wake you up?" "No, I haven't slept for about 30 minutes. Did you sleep well?" "As much as you can expect when you're alone in a hotel room." At the words, "alone in a hotel room," Bill and Daryl slapped each other's hands encouragingly and began to slowly have sex with me. I just wanted to say that my flight leaves in 10 minutes. I think I'll be home around 1:30. I can't wait to meet you. Same thing, honey. We have to go. I love you. Bye. I love you too, honey. Bye. I hung up and snapped. You bastards. They swapped places until 9:30 when Daryl ordered them to stop. Bill wanted to do it again, but Daryl said no, which was good because I probably couldn't do it anymore. She needs to be home when Hal gets here, which means she needs to shower and leave. Bill grumbled, but got dressed and left. As soon as the door closed behind him, Daryl laid me on my back and began to have sex with me. When we finished, then Daryl said, "You're one of the best fake dates I've ever had. Will you let me move in with you when Hal kicks me out?" Why would he do that? Are you kidding? He was gone for 2 weeks. Do you think he won't want to make love when he gets home? Then take him until you go crazy. After what you five did to me last night, do you think he won't sense that something is wrong? Damn it. I still don't know how this happened. I never cheated on Hala, and I never wanted to. I didn't even think about any other man, let alone five. It's simple. We decided we wanted you, and we kept pouring you drinks to lower your resistance, and then we took you. You didn't stand a chance. I knew when I saw you walk into the dinner room last night that you were on edge and ready to have sex. We both know it was supposed to be with Hal, but when he called and said he wasn't coming, we figured with a little luck we could get you. Hooray! It's great to know I'm an easy bitch, but that still won't help me with Hal. How close are you to your period? In a couple of days. Does he ever come earlier? Sometimes. Then make sure it starts earlier. Has Hal ever made love to you while you're on your period? It's never happened before, but we've never gone 2 weeks without sex, so I don't know what he can do. Have you ever had another sex? No. He thinks it's too dirty. Do you mean? Yes, exactly. Last night was the first time. Then make sure he thinks your period has started. Oh, thank you very much. This is absolutely wonderful to hear from someone who is not my husband. Look, baby, be as angry as you want, but the fact is that you liked everything you did last night. It was obvious. You spent most of the night begging and asking for more, faster and harder. I need to be angry, damn it. I've never cheated on Hala before. I never expected this to happen. Did you think when you did what you did that Hal might show up in your office with a gun and start a showdown with you, Sam and Phil? He will never know. Don't bet your life on this. Oh wait, you already said it. I might break down and confess. I honestly don't know how I'll be able to look him in the eye after last night. Self-preservation instinct, baby. You love him and don't want to lose him, so you'll pull yourself together and move on with your life. Last night will just be a memory you keep for yourself. Right now, all you have to do is convince him that your period started early. It's easy for you to say. Yes, it's easy. Do you use pads or tampons? Depending on the situation. Just take whatever you're using and color it with food coloring, and when he sees it, he'll accept it. He may not be happy, but he will accept it. Now go take a shower until I get up again and drag you back to the bed. I'll have to go without sex for a week or longer, so I guess one more time won't hurt. After all, I'm a beggar and a girl of easy virtue, right? Hal believed the story about the early period and didn't agree to try another sex, which was a shame because once I tried it, I loved it. He agreed that I should please him and thank him for it. He wished he could do something to ease the hunger he thought I was still feeling. When my actual period ended, and Hal never wondered why it was a little longer than usual, we made up for lost time. I actually tried to sex him to death to assuage the guilt I felt about the night at the company dinner. A month passed, and I had almost forgotten the night of dinner when Daryl called me. He said he needed to talk to me about Hala and asked if I would meet him for lunch. Hal was on a 3-day business trip to Daytona, so I asked Daryl if Hal was okay, and Daryl replied, yes and no. This is what we need to talk about, and I don't want to do it over the phone so that no one accidentally overhears. At Anton's at 12, he was already waiting for me when I arrived. He smiled as I approached the table and leaned over to kiss my cheek. I considered pulling away to prevent this, but at the last moment I decided it would be wiser to remain calm until I knew what Daryl wanted. He waited until we ordered and then said, Bill Thomas will be in town this evening, and he wants to meet you. Absolutely not. How does this even relate to Hal? So many. What the hell is going on, Daryl? You said we needed to talk about Hal, not Bill Thomas. I'm guessing Hal doesn't discuss things at work with you, otherwise you'd know what Bill has to do with this. Bill is one of Hal's clients, and Hal has been working to increase his orders from us. Bill's company was giving us 20% of their orders, and Hal was trying to increase that to 40 or even 50%. Al Myers is another client Hal has worked with. The night of the company dinner, they were in town to sign contracts that Hal had negotiated. Bill increased his order to 35%, and Al decided to give us some of his business. After a night with you, Bill agreed to increase his contract from 35% to 60% if he could spend time with you again, and Al said he would give us all his business if he could meet you the next time he came to town. I told them the deal was agreed. Of course, Hal knows nothing about this. He thinks he did a great job with both of them, and of course he got the promotion and his commission, even though it was mostly you who earned it. To be fair, he did convince Bill to increase the order from 20% to 35% and got Al to promise 25%. But it was you who convinced Bill to increase the percentage to 60% and Al to give away the entire business. And you did all this by promising them to me? What the hell, you fucking bastard. Go see Bill yourself. Maybe then he'll leave his business with you. I started to stand up and Daryl grabbed my hand and picked up his cell phone. Before you run away, you should take a look at this. On the screen was a video clip of Phil having sex with me. I didn't turn on the sound, so you can't hear. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think you'd want Hal to see this. I sat down again, but if I had a gun, I would have killed this son of a bitch right on the spot, regardless of the consequences. You should know that all 5 of us filmed you and took photos of you throughout that night, and I have everything. There are no other copies. I made a deal with the other 4, and in exchange for all their videos and photos, I agreed that they would all be able to spend time with you. Sam and Phil were unhappy because they were here in town and wanted you right now, but I convinced them that patience was needed so that I could arrange everything. It was easier with Bill and Al because they weren't local. I've been waiting for the right time to make my move, and that time has come. Bill will be here today and Hal will be out of town. Your kids will be at school all day tomorrow, so Bill will be able to spend most of the day with you. He wanted to stay all night, but I convinced him that you needed to be home if Hal called, and that he couldn't stay because of your kids. So, tomorrow you will take care of Bill, and you will do it willingly and with pleasure. He doesn't know that you're doing this under duress, and it's best you don't let him know. After you take care of Bill, we'll sit down and work out a schedule that works for Phil, Sam, and me. We'll probably never have to worry about the looseness issue again because it's unlikely that all 5 of us will get together again, although to be on the safe side, we'll arrange for meetings with Phil to take place when Hal is out of town. Any questions? Yes. How did you become such a vile bastard? It's all because of you. Because of me? Yes, baby, because of you. If you hadn't walked into that company dinner looking like every man in the room wanted to bed you, this might not have happened, but it did, and you loved every moment of it, and if you doubt it, I will show you all the videos and photos. You might have been high from all the alcohol that had lowered your morale, but you still loved every damn second of it. By the end of that night, every man in the room wanted you to be his. Every man in the room wanted to take you home and keep you for themselves. Every man? Even you? I bet your gorgeous ass, honey. By the time I finished having sex with you for the last time and sent you to the shower, I was ready to kill Hal just to get him out of the way and make you mine. As bad as it sounds, every time he's on a business trip, I hope for a plane crash so I can take his place. But let's return to what is happening now. I'm a company man. I've given my life to the company, and when 2 big clients say they'll give me most of their business if I just give them access to you, I'll find a way to do it. So now I'm the company's prostitute. Yes and no. Yes and no? What does it mean? You've been like this only for the 5 of us since the night at the corporate dinner and for no one else. Why do I have to do this with Sam and Phil? Because this is the only way to keep the situation under control. I can't let them do anything that could cause problems with Bill and Al. I threatened to fire both of them if they did anything that resulted in the loss of Bill and Al. This means that they will stay away from you except when I make appointments with you. They shouldn't do anything that would make Hal think. Plus, given what I saw last time you were with Phil, I don't think you'd mind spending time with him. In a way, it's ironic. I've heard of wives who had sex to get their husband's raise or promotion, but you're the first person I know who had sex so that her husband didn't get a promotion. What are you talking about? Hal was going to be made vice president of sales, but now I can't give him that position. Why not? He deserved it. Yes, he deserves it, but I need him to stay in his place. I need to be able to send him on business trips when you need to be free to deal with business issues. If you beat him out for a promotion, he might say, "To hell with you," and leave and find another job. He can even take his clients with him. Don't worry. I will say that due to the economic situation, I am forced to postpone my appointment. I will increase his commission and give him enough bonuses to keep him happy. All I need is for you to make Bill and Al happy and keep Phil and Sam satisfied enough so they don't ruin things. Daryl had me cornered, and he knew it. I actually spent the next day with Bill and really enjoyed it. So much so that the next day I spent with him from 9 until he left for the airport. 2 days later, it was Sam from 9 to noon, and then the following Monday, it was Daryl from 9 to 2. I had sex with Hal so often to relieve the guilt that I had to reduce the number of times so that he wouldn't suspect why I was literally throwing myself at him every night. Daryl was right about Phil. Phil was a bastard. I went into every meeting with the intention of just doing my thing quickly and leaving, but that never worked. When he was inside me, he could make me agree to anything as long as he didn't stop. When the meeting ended, I only dreamed of how to get away from him as quickly as possible. Sam was always a little rough around the edges, but he always treated me like I was doing him the biggest favor by even letting him touch me. He was so sweet that one time I even had a whole night with him, just so he wouldn't tell Phil or Daryl about it. I met Daryl for long lunches once a week and spent the entire day with him twice when Hal was away on business. I saw Bill and Al whenever they came into town, which was usually about once every 2 months. One time they both came to town when Hal was on a business trip, and I spent 2 days with them in a threesome format. This went on for more than a year, and then changes began to occur. Al got married, and surprisingly, he did not cheat on his wife. Cheating on me behind Hal's back was acceptable to him, but after he got his own wife, everything changed. Bill's company was taken over by hostility, and I never saw him again. Luckily, Daryl's company had such a good reputation with Bill's that Hal was able to negotiate an even better deal with the new owners, including bringing in additional business from some of their other affiliates. There was another remarkable case. During one of my long lunches with Daryl, he asked me if I missed Bill and Al. If I had been any smarter, I would have said, "Oh my God, no." But for some stupid reason, I answered honestly, "Yes, sometimes I miss you." And what? I think you expected this to happen someday, so here it is. Would you consider spending the day with someone else to help me get a contract? He saw that I was about to get angry and quickly added, "No pressure, honey. No blackmail. I would like you to do this for me, but only if you want it yourself. Refusing is also an option. Not a bad guy, not a bastard. I think you might like spending time with him. I'll think about it and let you know." When? Next Wednesday. And so, at 9:20 on Wednesday morning, I knocked on the door of room 216 at the Marriott Hotel downtown and spent the next 5 hours. The result of that environment was that I started seeing Jason every time he came into town, which was about once a month. There was, of course, a second result. Once Daryl knew I was ready, he started asking if I would mind meeting with this client or that client, and more often than not I would say yes. Yes, indeed, I became a party girl, and I was honest with myself that I liked it. The only unpleasant thing was that the more sex I got, the more I wanted it, and it killed me that I had to restrain myself and not touch my husband. Hal and I had a great sex life, averaging 4 times a week, and that was after 18 years of marriage. Sometimes it happens more than once or even twice a night, but I heard that one of the signs of a wife cheating is that she either reduces the amount of sex with her husband or increases it. Therefore, although I wanted more, I had to limit the one I loved to the usual amount, and this depressed me. As I left the front desk after checking into a room for the night, I wondered what awaited me this evening. Just like last time, Hal said Daryl would take care of me until he arrived. I walked into the banquet hall, and as Yogi Berra would say, it was like deja vu all over again. I saw Daryl at the same time he saw me, and he stood up and walked over to me. Behind him, at the same table where he was sitting, I saw Phil, Sam, and, instead of Bill and Al, two men whom I had never seen before, and I knew exactly what awaited me that night if for some reason Hal wouldn't show up. And I smiled at this thought. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one.